All right, hello everyone. Guaranteed rhythm exercise, practice along video. So I'm going to explain the exercise a bit, but this is going to be an exercise video where you are going to be playing along with me, doing everything that I do. So it's kind of like an aerobics video. I'll be up here aerobicizing. You do that along with me, okay? Now, the guaranteed rhythm exercise. Am I being clever with the name? A little bit, or at least trying to be. But the idea behind this exercise, okay, I guess when I say guaranteed rhythm exercise, it's because a lot of people think they don't have rhythm. And to some degree that may not be true. I mean, I know musicians that have rhythm well beyond mine. They laugh at me, etc., etc. But I'm basically saying, like, I guarantee if you do this, you know, you will be able to have enough rhythm that you'll be able to play the guitar and people will think you sound awesome, okay? But there is another promise on top of that, which is this is not about being able to play rhythms. This is about being able to play rhythms freely. So if you play all of your rhythms a very particular way and you always play them that way, you get to the point where you don't have to think about your right hand. So if you're not thinking about your right hand and you're just moving, you know, what could you do? Well, you can shoot a video and you could speak sentences while you're strumming, which admittedly, it is still pretty hard for me. Okay. But if you're not thinking about your right hand, you can think about your chord changes. You can think about lyrics. The other thing is this exercise, you know, when you do it enough, when you get good enough at it, it actually helps you learning music by ear or writing music. Okay, so you can use the mechanics of your arm for freedom, but also for creativity. So there we go. All right, I'm done convincing you should do this. Now let's hop into it. So remember with this video, I'm going to practice with you. You do everything that I do. I will attempt to remember to remind you to play and to count out loud all the time. But if I don't, just if you hear me counting and you see me playing, you do it also. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to strum down and up on the guitar. Okay, so about this speed with me. Ready, go. Okay, so you might notice that the downstrokes and the upstrokes feel a little bit different, so it's kind of hard to make them sound exactly the same. You know, I think it's actually probably impossible to make them sound exactly the same because you're hitting the strings in a different order. But what you want to do is you want to just glance over the top of the strings, okay? You don't want to drag down. That's a technique that we're not doing right now. All right? I hold the pick between my thumb and my first finger. I used to hold it between thumb and second finger. I still sometimes will. I actually use very small picks. This is one of the larger picks that I use. You'll notice it's like almost just the size of my thumb, right? So this is a small pick, and it's the largest one that I use. Okay, so the kinds of picks that you like will affect how you want to hold your pick. If you're not doing any lead guitar, you're just doing strumming, I kind of like holding between my thumb and the second finger because then I can use my first and my third to adjust when the pick starts falling out of my hand, which it's going to. Back in the day, you'd see guitarists. Well, maybe you do now. You just don't see guitarists much on stage anymore. Well, TJs. But anyway, you'd see the line of picks on the microphone. It's because they drop their picks. I mean, you're going to drop your pick. But if you're just doing strumming, probably thumb and second finger. Use your first and third to adjust. Now, a normal size pick actually is going to stick out farther, so it's easier for these fingers to grab onto. Now, I don't like doing that. I like using my thumb and first finger because it's easier if you're playing solos and trying to play fast and stuff. You want your pick sticking out the side of your thumb, not out the front of your thumb, so that you're not pointing your hand in like this. Right? Your wrist is pretty straight, maybe even curved backwards a bit. Pick pointing out the sides, down and up, go. And you're just going to skim across the top of the strings. Now, while you're playing, you might notice that if you squeeze the pick harder, and then or let it go, right? If you release the pressure, you get a softer strum, a lighter strum, a quieter strum. If you squeeze, you get more volume, but it's kind of grabby. Okay. Also, make sure your pick is pointed directly at the guitar. What a lot of people will do when they start strumming is they're not strumming up and down. They're just mostly strumming down. So they point the pick up so that it's easier to strum down. Well, what happens when you come back up is now it's catching on the strings. So you need that pick perpendicular to the plane of the strings. I think what I just said actually makes sense. Like the words. I think the words are right. I don't know. So we're strumming down and up. Okay. So now we got to count this. So here's how we're going to count it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Count with me. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you're done. I'm not kidding. That is it. That is the only thing that you need to know to strum every single eighth note pattern. Down on the numbers, up on the ands, and that is it. But this exercise, or this lesson I should say, well, the exercise and this lesson, this video, is not about just knowing that. It's about getting that solid in your brain. So now we're going to test your ability to keep your hand moving at all times. And also your ability to make sure that down on the numbers, up on the ands. Which technically, if your hand never stops, you can't get that wrong, right? Like, how are you going to switch that without your hand stopping? Okay. Anyway, so that's it. That's the entire secret to strumming. Now we just have to make it so that it actually comes out your arm. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove those ands. Now the thing is, the ands are still there. Musically, they are still there. They're between the numbers. All right. Now, whether this is a rest or a note that's held out, actually rests, I tend to write the rhythm down for that because it's an action I'm taking on the guitar to make the sound stop. So if I have an and that's missing or a number that's missing, more often than not, that's a note that's held out longer, right? So if I want a long note, it's not, right? The beat is like this, 2, 3, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now, you might look a little silly on stage on that. So by the time you get onto a stage, you could probably reduce that movement to a mere thought. But for now, you cannot. For now, you must move your hand. So we're not going to play the ands, okay? We're still at the top section of the sheet, which, by the way, I'll put a link. Go to the website, download the PDF so that you can have the sheet that I'm using in front of you while you practice. So the second example there, okay, on the top section, is just 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like there's no ands, but they are there. They're between the numbers. So now we strum 1, miss the strings, 2, miss the strings, 3, miss the strings. Because on those ands, you still have to move your hand back up. But since we're not playing them, we're going to miss the strings. Okay? So do this with me. Ready? And 1, miss, 2, miss, 3, miss, 4, miss. All right, cool. One more time. I'm not going to say miss this time. Just know the ands are in between the numbers. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what if there is a missing number? So, if you've downloaded the sheet, look at the third rhythm there, the top section. You'll notice there is a number missing. Which number is missing? No. It's a trick question. There is no number missing. The 3 is not written on the page, but it's not missing. It's just silent. So it is still there, but now the note that you're playing on the 2 is even longer than before because it starts on the 2 and it doesn't stop until you get to the 4. So you have a short note, long, short, okay? But we don't want to think of notes as short and long. All we think of is this, and when do I hit the strings, when do I miss the strings? Okay? If your hand is moving and you hit the strings and miss the strings, the rhythm will be correct. So now we're going to try to see what happens when there is a silent number. It's going to be 1, moving back up, 2, moving back up, miss back down because that is the 3. All right, that's the number. Miss it back up because there's also no and then 4. So let's try that together. Ready, and 1, 2, 4. Now, I don't usually think about missing the ands. I really usually only think about missing the silent numbers because your hand just kind of comes back up, right? Every time I tell a student to strum down, they go, all right? It always comes back up. I'm like, no, strum down, hold your hand down. I'm like, no, leave your hand down, right? So like our hands just come back up. So you generally don't have to worry about silent ands. But silent numbers you got to watch out for. Okay, so let's do this one more time. No, let's do it 3 times in a row. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. Okay, ready, play. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. There you go. That is it. So, all right, next section. Okay, we're gonna practice 6 different rhythms, but we're not just gonna play them. We're actually gonna play them sort of strangely to each of the 3 different ways that we're gonna play these. It reinforces one particular skill because remember, we're not just about being able to play these. That sentence that makes sense. We are not simply after the ability to play these. What we're after is the ability to play them with like total brain freedom, right? Like your mind is not spending energy strumming. Totally free to do whatever else it wants. So we're going to do some weird exercises. Now, the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to strum. If you look at the sheet, if you've downloaded it, look at number 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That is what we're going to strum every single time. But we're going to count the 6 different rhythms. So what you count and what you strum is going to be different, right? So I'm going to give you an example. Don't play along just yet. Here's 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm saying and counting the exact same thing. Now in 2, I'm going to count number 2, but I'm going to play number 1. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now notice between the 3 and the 4, you heard I came back up. All right, that's what we're trying to reinforce here. That arm always moves. Let's look at what would happen on number 4. 1 and 2 and... That was wrong. Let me do it again. Number 4. 1 and 3, 4. Okay, so you're going to strum 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and every single time, but we're going to count the rhythms that are written on the page. All right, so we're going to start with number 1. Now, what you're going to play and say, it's identical. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Easy enough, yeah? All right, number 2. So now on number 2, you've got a silent and between the 3 and the 4 and a silent and between the 4 and the 1. Now, why is it between 4 and 1? Well, songs are more than one measure, right? So after the 4 is the 1. So let's just do one measure. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I kind of rushed that and there, didn't I? Let's do it again. Now we're going to play this 2 times in a row. Okay, no pausing. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I did it again. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. All right, that time I didn't rush. Now, count out loud. Do not count in your head. If you are counting in your head, you're not actually counting. I know this to be true. Number 3. Ready? And 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. All right. So now we're gonna do it. Let's do this 3 times. Ready? And 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and is this the last one? 2 and 3, 4, and one more. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Now you'll notice I'm being exaggeratory. I like it. I'm leaving it. I'm exaggerating my strumming, yeah? Mostly it's just for effect. It's to make sure that you see what I'm doing, right? Because normally when I play, like it's very hard for my students often to see what I'm doing because my hand is very close to the strings, right? The missed strums and the strummed strums look so much alike. People can't figure out what I'm doing. My fingers are always really close to the strings. So they're like, what fingers are you using? Because, when you start, all your movements are huge. And as you progress through guitar, you shrink them down. And if I'm faster than you, it's because I'm moving less, period. I don't have faster fingers, okay? It's really not possible maybe on some level, but I promise you I'm not some uber fast person, yeah? So I'm exaggerating a bit just kind of for your sake. But it's not a bad idea, just to really exaggerate everything. Your missed strums are jerky, your strums are jerky. The jerking with the strums makes sure you're being very clear about what you're doing. And the clearer you are about what you're doing, the better you'll get, Your mistakes will stand out, but you want them to because you can fix them if you notice them. The same thing with counting. Instead of 1 and 2 and 3, like don't mumble. 1 and 2 and 3 and. I don't ever say the D, and because that's like 2 beats, right? And so and I just say and. But really be sharp with it, crisp, very crisp with it. Number 4 is missing the 2. That is a Russian accent. Hope you like. Number 4 is missing the 2. But the 2 is not missing. It is not in Gulag. The 2 is still there. It's just silent. So what you do on the 2 is you move your hand past the strings. You just don't need them. All right? So it's 1 and 3. All right. I'm going too fast and my filter's off. All right, let's get back. Let's focus, okay? You guys are distracting me. We're going to do number 4, right? We have a silent 2. So really focus on that silent 2. What you're going to want to do is this. 1 and 2 and... Well, now the strumming's upside down. Even though I'm telling you this, you're going to have an urge to stop your hand on the 2. You're probably going to stop it on the 2. Even though I'm saying you're going to stop it on the 2, you probably still will. That's how strong the urge is. But don't do it. And the way that you make sure you don't stop on the 2 is you think about the 2. And the 2 is this. 2. Okay? Now, that's actually if we're strumming the real rhythms. We're not. We're strumming a normal strum on the 2. I forgot why we did this exercise, and that is why. Let's get to it. Number 4. Ready, count. 1 and 3, 4. Again. 1 and 3, 4. Uno más. 1 and 3, 4. Why not? 1 and 3, 4. Okay. Number 5. Okay, we got a missing 3 instead of a missing 2. See there, I said it again. It's not missing. It's just silent. So silent 3 instead of a silent 2. All right, easy enough. We're going to hit the strings every single time. Number 5. Ready, count. 1, 2, and 4, and 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 stop. Hammer time. Well, the Red Bull is just kicking in, and I'm getting ridiculous. Number 6. Guys, this is it. We're at the end of our journey. We're at number 6, the last rhythm. We're a 10th of the way through this lesson. Number 6, ready, and 1, and 4. Now, how do you keep track of all those silent beats? I think of it as 1 and 4. So there's only 3 groups. that I'm really keeping track of. Now, the other thing is if you count enough, you develop a general sense of where 4 beats last, how long 4 beats last. So you sort of develop a sense of where the 4 is, and that the 1's coming back, and especially if there's drums, because you hear snare on 2 and 4 and all that. So you will develop a general sense. But for now, what you could do if you're having trouble keeping track of, like, well, how many ands are there? Well, there's one and then there's and then there's and 4. Don't think of and. Wait, was that 3? Because that's what'll happen if I'm just thinking of the ands. I'll lose count. So I think of it as 1 and 4. 3 groups of things. 1 and 4. All right, so let's do number 6 together. Ready? Count. 1 and 4. Again. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. Okay, on to exercise number 2. So exercise number 2. Now we are going to say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the entire time, but we're going to play the rhythm that's written down. So if the number or and is missing from the page, meaning it is silent, it's not missing from the music, it's only missing from the page. If an and or a 3 is silent, you are going to miss the strings with your hand. You're still going to move your hand, just don't hit the strings. Okay? So we're going to call these out to remind ourselves that these silent notes are still there, but we're going to play it properly on the guitar. Now again, number 1, you're going to say and play the exact same thing. Let's get it out of the way. Ready, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, number 2. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3. I didn't do that right, did I? We're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yeah, okay. Ready? Count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I messed up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, I'll have to pay attention to the sheet. I keep forgetting what I'm doing. Number 3, ready, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 4. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Number 5. Ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 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 Last one. Number 6. Ready, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That one seemed harder to me than just playing the rhythm properly. All right, so now we are going to say and play the rhythms normally. So no funny business, just counting and playing. But we are going to we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this with a metronome. Okay, so you count the rhythm that you see on the page. You play the rhythm you see on the page. There's now not going to be a difference. Yeah, let's do it. By the way, if you don't have a metronome, shame on you. If you need a metronome and you don't have a phone or an iPad or something like that to download one to, you can just search up metronome on Google in a Google search field, and the first thing that comes up is an actual usable metronome via the internet. So, ready? Number 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 2. So we're at 50 beats per minute. You'll notice might feel a little bit fast. If you go too much slower than 50, it gets really hard to predict where the next click is. So we kind of have to just put up with it. So ready, number 2, ready, count out loud, ready, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Number 3, ready, and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Number 4. All right, so this silent 2. Okay, you're not going to say 2, and you're not going to hit the strings on the 2, but you're still going to think about the 2, and you're still going to move your hand down. Now, if you find yourself pausing your hand on the and, it's because you're thinking of the and then the other and. Don't do that. Think of the 2. 1 and, right? Put the emphasis on the silenceness on the 2, and it will work. You don't think and, wait a minute, and. No, it's and, silent 2, right? Play that silent 2 as silently as possible. All right, here we go. Ready? Number 4, count out loud, and 1 and 3, 4. 1 and 3, 4. 1 and 3, 4. 1 and 3, 4. Fantastique. Number 5. Shouldn't be that hard if you did number 4 okay. 5 should be no problem. Remember, you move your hand down and the numbers up on the ands, and that never changes. Ready. The 3 is what you want to focus most on. Focus on that silentness. Ready. Don't skip it. Ready. And 1, 2 and 4 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 and. There's a shh sound behind me. Water and electrical sounds scare me sometimes. All right, so number 6, not like normally. That's like not like I'm walking down the alley, right? And I'm like afraid. I'm just saying like when I have expensive stuff, I get afraid of water sound. All right. Number 6. Okay, so here I don't think I really like focus on the silent 2 and then focus on the silent 3. So this is different because there's so many ands in a row. So instead, my mind usually goes to the grouping of those, like 1 and 4. So I'm thinking that's one part of it, and then is the second thing, and then is the third thing. That's how my brain groups the things. Number 6, counting and playing the exact same thing. Ready, and 1 and 4. 1 and 4 again. 1 and 4. Last time. 1 and 4. Okay, so the final test with the metronome, we're going to play 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6 without stopping. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 3, 4, right? Boom, 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 one after the other, as if they're all strung together in the same song. Okay? Here we go. Again, 50 beats per minute. 2, ready, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, and 1, and 4. Let's try that again. All right, and then that will conclude this practice session. Ready, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4, and 1, and 4. Awesome. So where do you go from here? Well, to get this freedom that I'm promising you with these rhythms, you're going to want to practice this a lot. And you don't just have to do this exercise over and over again, but if you can't think of anything else to do, I would set the metronome to a different speed each time. All right, so you do 50 beats, and then you do 120, and you might drop it down to 42, and be like, well, that's really high, and you go, oh, 140. Like, keep changing the speed of the metronome, and try the different rhythms at the different speeds. And what you want to do is only give yourself a beat or two. If you're going like 140, like it'll be 4 beats, okay? But so maximum 4 beats to get the rhythm in your head, and then play with the metronome. You play it right 2 times in a row, okay? Then you change the speed of the metronome, and then you play a different rhythm. And so you're constantly changing that so that you're not using momentum and pattern recognition to make it easier to play, because you're practicing, you want to make it harder to play so that when you play, it's easier to play, right? What do they say? Train hard, fight easy, right? Now, the other thing to do is when you're playing a song, okay, figure out the strumming pattern with these numbers, like the 1, 2, and 4, and figure out what that is in the song that you're working on, and then practice that strumming the way that we did. And a third thing you can do, you can take these rhythms, right? Let's say you take rhythm number 4, and you just do number 4 over and over and over again, okay? But you take G, C, and D, right? Write G and C and D over top of one of the numbers, that you've written out, 1 and 3, 4, and 4 times. And that creates a song, and you just practice like changing your chords like that. So there's a couple different ways you can experiment with this, but the main thing is just to remember down on the numbers, up on the ands all the time, right? And if you find yourself stopping your hand while you're practicing a song, that's like one of those silent numbers or the silent ands, and it's usually a missing number. It's usually not a missing and that causes a problem. So if you find yourself stopping your hand, like, wait, what beat was that? And figure it out, write it down, and then practice it that way. All right, cool. We'll see you guys.